Hello, welcome back to Reads of an Apple. My name is Stacy, and today we are going to do the Star Wars book tag. Now, I am very excited. Star Wars has a new TV show coming out later this month, Ahsoka. I'm super excited to get into it. She, I feel like, is one of the standout characters from like the Clone War cartoons, Star Wars Rebels. She was in that as well. And I mean, she was, if you don't know, Anakin Skywalker's Padawan. We got to meet her in The Mandalorian, and I am super hyped, super excited. And when I was debating on what book tag I wanted to do for the month of August, I was just like, I could do another Taylor Swift thing. Like, there's a lot going on. And then I was like, it's the start of one of my most anticipated Star Wars TV shows. So I was like, we're doing Star Wars. Unfortunately, I don't have any Star Wars like shirts. I have a couple Star Wars pajamas, but they're all winter pajamas. So they are in storage right now. So I was just like, but I wore my favorite Star Wars necklace. We got the Death Star, X-Wing, and my favorite Star Wars, either the Naboo Starfighter, or I love TIE Fighters as well. And then I have lots of Star Wars earrings, but I went with classic blue lightsabers today. So we're just going to jump into it. I will do a little bit of a little pre-blurb. Typically for my book tags, especially starting in 2023, I wanted to be careful to not like use the same books over and over again and try to force myself to pick other books that I can talk about that maybe I don't talk about quite as much this time. However, when I did my mid-year freakout tag, which I will pop up above, that is like the exception to the rule. If a book I'm talking about in any book tags after that went out, that is okay. That one is like not included in my keeping track of the books I talk about in book tags thing, but I have them all in one big playlist if you'd like to check them out. But otherwise, let's just get into it. Should be a quicker book tag today because we only have 11 questions. So these are all character based, which is also super fun. I keep saying I'm just going to jump into it. I will also say I could not figure out where the book tag originated. A lot of my book tags, I have a couple different book tag collection sites that were created by some bloggers, and I have those saved. So I usually go through the list if I don't already have an idea of a book tag that I'd like to do for the month. And all the people I saw that have done the Star Wars book tag tagged somebody else that they saw doing it and not the original creator. I think I might have found the original creators. They used to have a YouTube, but the YouTube isn't around anymore and the video isn't up anymore. So if you are or you know the creator, please let me know down below because I will tag them. And she says, hello, hi. What are you doing? You're full of it. She just has to be in everything. Okay, so now we will get into it. And if you did not know, this is my kitty Cheese. And she turns 22 this year, which is crazy. Okay, so number 1, R2-D2, which is a book that made you laugh out loud. I have a pretty easy trigger. Well, I used to have a pretty, like, my humor is very easy. I understand a lot of humor. It's very easy to make me laugh, also cry. But can I help you? All right, I guess we're gonna hang out in Mama's lap. I have noticed that, like, what has been kind of more popular lately is, like, the stoner humor. That is the, like, only humor where I'm just kind of like, it's not funny to me. But I'm very easy. Like, I will laugh very easily at most things. So it was kind of hard to pick one because I was like, well, every book I've read, I usually end up laughing. But the one that I remember being the most humorous that I've read recently, I had to give it to In a Jam by Kate Canterbury. There's a lot of like antics with farm animals. This is also a very swoony book. We also had our hero Noah. He is the adoptive, he has adopted his niece, Imogen. She is a little kindergartner, and she has a potty mouth. She is into pirates. She loves all her animals on the farm, and I really, really love this. And there's a lot of antics, both between Shay and Noah, but really with Imogen, that really just cracked me up, and I loved it to pieces. We will move on. So number 2, Anakin Skywalker, a book or series that started out well and then became bad. I don't like to talk bad about books, but I will say it became something that is not my enjoyment and my cup of tea, and that is the Anita Blake series by Laurel K. Hamilton. This is a favorite of like my best friend. She's the one who got me into this. She's also the one who got me into Patricia Briggs and really made me like werewolves back in college. And I was super intrigued by this story. I mean, it sets up with a love triangle, but then it turns into a triumvirate throuple thing with no swords crossing. It's more kind of like an agreed upon polyamory situation. The vampire, I remember, welcomes everybody in his bed, but the werewolf, is a typical werewolf, very possessive, and doesn't like sharing Anita Blake. But there's this weird power structure that happens between the three of them. I thought the series world was really interesting. I thought it was really intriguing the way that she, was setting up all the different like supernatural creatures. And I really enjoyed it, not for the romance. And then at some point in her books, I kind of started petering out, because then something happened. I don't remember exactly what. It's been a while since I read the series, but I kind of stopped. I kind of petered out. Anita started, having to sleep with other people for power reasons, or just, it just became a free-for-all for her to sleep with anyone. And it definitely, and she had love lines with a bunch of different people. It definitely now feels like kind of why choose situation, except for like the main werewolf and the vampire are still like the number ones in her relationship from where I stopped reading the series. And I don't know, there was a point where the books really kind of turned into PWP for me, porn without plot. There was plot, but it felt like it was like the third thing on the list out of 3 things. And when I was reading them, I was borrowing my friend's copies when I was reading it. She was like, yeah, you can kind of tell this was when these books came out. This was when she just got married. So she was very active in her own personal life in the bedroom, and it spread to her books, so you could tell that she really was just like, we're gonna go there. And it's not something I enjoy, and she's just happy as can be in my lap right now. You are a little kitty rat. But yeah, so I stopped reading it. I really don't kind of have plans to go back to it. She wasn't touted to me as it being a romance, but that there was high steam, romantic elements, and I love my friend, but I just couldn't with that series anymore. And you know, this is one of really, I never have really been into polybooks, menages, why choose situations, and this series just got to be too much for me. Weirdly enough, I liked her Mary Gentry series better, and that one is like full on why choose, but and being forced to get pregnated, and like that's the point of the plot, is to get pregnant by one of these 7 Fae people that are set with her. But I don't know, it just, for some reason that book did it more for me than Anita, or that series did more for me than Anita Blake. But even then, when I look back on it, I think I was just still so like, this book is like all sex, and I was like partly like, ooh, and now I've kind of outgrown that, you know, and I've come to put more meaning in those type of intimacies. So if I were to reread those books now, I'd probably read them pretty lowly, which is why I have recently unhauled almost all of the Laurel K. Hamilton books that I have. If you did not see that video, I will pop it up here for you as well. So let's move on. Oh, we are on the move. Hi. Oh my gosh. We are falling off and knocking into things. What is happening? Okay. Number 3, arguably one of my favorite Star Wars characters, Padme Amidala. And this is a book with a beautiful cover or gorgeous clothing. Now, I am a little more picky. Sometimes I get less picky about the books that I physically own, but I try to only own books that I have already read and loved, or from an author that I've read and loved before. I know, she's shedding like crazy. So for this one, I was like, I love all of my books for different reasons for covers. I don't have very many covers that I just don't like. I definitely have some books where I've bought where I like the cover, but it doesn't necessarily match the book. But I decided to do like the prettiest book going backwards of the most recent book I bought, of what I think is the prettiest. And that I would have to give to Tall, Duke, and Scandalous by Amy Rose Bennett. This is her newest release. It came out in the beginning of August. Hi. You want to go up? Yeah. Okay. Coming through. This is the 3rd book in her Byronic book club series, historical romance, and the cover is just so gorgeous. I love the color of her dress. I love the books in the background. All of these covers have it. I love this style of a clinch with them in the like lounger chair in the library. I just think it's utterly gorgeous. I even really love the spine. It just looks pretty on my shelf. So I had to give it to this one. This was probably the most prettiest book that I have recently bought. Okay, number 4, Leia Organa. And that is a kick-butt female character. I mean, there's one. There's one that comes to my mind, and I think it'd be very kind of hard to beat them out, especially when we're specifically going with kick butt, kick ass, however you want to say it, and that would be Kate Daniels from the Kate Daniels series by Alona Andrews. Weirdly enough, not including the spin-off series, this is the only Kate Daniels book I have. Which is weird because I ended up with book 10 when I hadn't even read the Kate Daniels series yet, which is funky, but I just have to give it to Kate. She is such a badass. She is so powerful, but she's also very like, she has the moral high ground, shall we say. And I love Kate. I love Curran as well. I love their relationship. I love their dynamic. And Kate just can't not save the people around her that she cares for. And I just, if we were to go through an apocalypse and like one of a book character was to like come to life to save us all, I would probably go for Kate as like top of the list. I just love Kate to pieces. And I have been recently slowly rereading the series as the graphic audio comes out. The 4th book was just announced for that. and I am super excited. This is the 10th and final book in the main novel series, but as I said, there are spin-offs and spin-offs with other characters as the main POVs, but Kate Daniels is where it's at, and I'm enjoying rereading the graphic audios, so definitely check them out. Okay. Number 5, Luke Skywalker. So this is a rising star author, a new author you've discovered and absolutely love. The one that I am most obsessed with right now is ML Philpott. She does the Fractured Ever After series. It is a mafia romance of fairy tale retellings with a lot of heavy nods to the Disney adaptations of those. I love her to pieces. I read the first 2 books in that series during the Mafia Romance Readathon. I'll link the reading vlog up ahead. The first book is Cinderella, The Hunt and Illusion. The second book is Sleeping Beauty, The Craving in Slumber. The third book I just recently read was Beauty and the Beast, and that's The Beauty in Scars. The fourth book just dropped in July, I think. I think it dropped in July, and that is Rapunzel, and I think it's The Freedom in Captivity, I think. And the next book comes out in September, and that is The Little Mermaid retelling, which has been teased from the first book, and that is The Sound in Silence. And I cannot wait. There's going to be another book after that one. It hasn't been, the book has been announced, but we don't know title, we don't know blurb, we don't know anything, and we won't until The Sound in Silence is released, so nothing gets given away on what's going on with the final one. However, paying more attention to side characters that are mentioned, I'm guessing, here's my official guess, that it'll be a Aladdin retelling, because one of the sisters, her name is Yasmin. And I totally wasn't getting hints before. If you have seen a recent vlog where I talked about when I picked up The Beauty of Scars during one of my weekly vlogs, I was just, when I started it, I was like, wait, Maurice, wait! I had a complete, we've seen Maurice in the other books. Totally did not put together. Maurice is also the name of Belle's father. Maybe he leads to Belle. Totally just was so immersed in whatever story was going on. I wasn't paying attention to side characters. But once I had that realization in the beginning of The Beauty and Scars, all of the side characters that are more prominent, I'm just like, ooh, maybe this is who it'll be. So I'm excited, as you can tell. I love the series. I highly recommend it. She has a couple other series that I definitely want to dig into. It seems like most of them are on the darker side, so yeah, I'm absolutely loving ML Philpott. She is Canadian. This series is set in Canada, and she's also a hockey fan, so I have talked to her. I've slid into her DMs a couple of times when she's posted hockey content to talk to her about that, because I'm just like, oh my gosh, a romance author who also is a hockey fan and understands hockey things for real. Not that and that's the thing that okay, I'm not gonna get into it. Gatekeeping is an issue in the sport of hockey, and I try to not help perpetuate that, but it's also very exciting when I find someone who already knows the game and understands the game, and you can actually talk hockey with and not have to explain things. And I don't mind explaining things and teaching the game of hockey, but it's nice to take the teacher half off every once in a while. My boss is really good for that because she doesn't know much, but she will let me just talk at her. And she's just like, okay, cool. And then we move on. So that's how I get out a lot of my hockey talk. But it's nice to talk to have a conversation with someone who actually knows the game really well. But anyway, I will move on. ML Philpott. That is my Luke Skywalker. Number 6, Han Solo, a book with a lot of sass. I instantly knew I had to give it to Hold Me Today by Maria Louise. This is the first book in her Put a Ring on It series. I loved this. Our heroine, I think it's Mina, She has so much sass. I love it. Her and her best friend definitely have good banter. She has great banter with the hero Nick, and they're both Greek and raised in a Greek setting in America, so it definitely is like heavy Greece culture, and like food, and it definitely kind of gives like the same similar antics that you see in like My Big Fat Greek Wedding, but not like the actual wedding portion, but just like the family antics and the very tight-knit, close community, neighborhood, whatever you want to call it, that they all like live and grow up in. And I really had so much fun. I died. Speaking of hockey, there is a moment in this book where Mina is talking to her best friend, and there's a hockey game going on, and her friend's just like, well, we could hang out, or we could just go home and watch hockey. And they just kind of look at each other and start laughing, and they're like, oh yeah, no, it's not a choice. We're going home and watching hockey. And I'm just like, same. The amount of times that I've canceled or told other people that I have plans when my plans are literally just sitting on my couch watching a middle of the season, no like nothing really big about the game outside of it just gets you 2 points in the season. Doesn't really affect standings. It's early on in the season or whatever. No, I have plans if hockey is on. There are very few things that I will not watch a hockey game for. And even then, I will listen to it on the radio. I will pull it up on my phone wherever we are. The only time I really missed a game, and that one was actually kind of a big game, it was the playoff game, was when we did like a little get together when my grandfather passed away, and we kind of met and went over what was kind of going on with the situation, and we all went out to dinner and we got to see some extended family. So that's really, at least in the last few years, the only game that I've missed. But we listened to the third period in overtime on the way home, because I was like, I'm sorry, but we are putting hockey on the radio on our drive back from Longmont. It's just my thing. It's just my thing. Okay, number 7, Darth Vader. Favorite villain. I mean, if you are a romance reader, if you are a historical romance reader, there's no other choice. There's no other choice than Mr. Sebastian St. Vincent, Devil in Winter, Lisa Kleypas. He technically is the hero in this book, but he is the villain character in the previous book, which is, I just spaced out a name. It happened one autumn. I knew it was the fall book, but the redemption of Sebastian St. Vincent in this book is great. I definitely know why. He is a very loved Lisa Kleypas hero / villain, and he definitely is one of her best heroes for sure. He's not my personal favorite. He is number 2 on the list, but I mean, when it comes to favorite villain in romance, it just has to be Sebastian. There's no other choice. There's no other options. This is not a multiple choice. This is a right or wrong answer. Just saying. Number 8, Emperor Palpatine. We're getting into the dark side a little bit here. So this is best world building. Now, I had to throw it to another Alona Andrews series because I think they are the best world builders out there, especially who write in the romance or urban fantasy with romance being an important subplot sector. Grace Draven is also a really great world builder as well. But the way that Alona Andrews, if you did not know, they are a husband and wife writing duo, Alona and Gordon. The way that they manage to draw in different mythologies and cultures and make stuff up and put twists on previously established like vampires and werewolves and things like that. It just boggles my mind how they are like their imaginations are just bonkers. They're really great writers. If you're looking for a fun newsletter or author blog post to follow, I highly recommend them. Alona will write some where she's like talking about like day-to-day stuff or just random things that she's thinking in her head. Like there was one about reorganizing her closet. I was dying laughing so hard at this little blog post. I sent it to my boss. I was like, you have to read this. This is hysterical. But I think the best world building of their series it has to be Innkeeper Chronicles, because they aren't just building a world, they're building an entire universe. I mean, we've got Earth, this is their sci-fi series. They definitely take a different twist on werewolves and vampires here, which is crazy because it is like completely different than the werewolves and vampires in Kate Daniels, which is still completely different from maybe the werewolves and shifters, not as much different from other paranormal urban fantasy series, but definitely the vampires. But this is just like literally another world. This world is just so immersive. This universe is so immersive. The graphic audios are great. With it being sci-fi, they could really let their imagination run wild with different alien species and planet ecosystems. In this series, I think, is their best world building because there are no parameters. And technically there aren't. They can do whatever they want in their other books. But they're still set on Earth. Maybe a changed Earth, a magic version of an Earth. But with sci-fi, you really can open up the doors to literally anything. And they took that and they ran with it tenfold. I cannot recommend Alona Andrews enough. I think this series is just absolutely amazing. I know some people kind of call it like a cozy sci-fi series, which kind of fits, but as you can tell, I love Alona Andrews, but best world building, I just had to give to this series. There is no other. I think the only thing that could probably unseat it is a new series from Alona Andrews, which they are talking about starting. So you know what? If they write it, I will read it. Okay, number 9, Ben Kenobi, Obi-Wan Kenobi. A book you went in with low expectations and that blew you away by the end. Now we're going to do a little bit of a repeat here, but this is specifically talking about a book when earlier we were just specifically talking about the author. So once again, M.L. Philpott. I have to give it to The Hunt in Illusion. All I knew going into this was fairy tale retelling, Cinderella based, and mafia romance. That's what I knew. I was just like, I like fairy tale retellings. I like mafia romance. It was on my radar when I saw that they were being posted in 2022. Never got around to them. Like I mentioned, I picked up this book and the second book in the series during the Mafia Romance Readathon. So I was expecting mafia and, some of those things. I was completely blown away. As you could tell, she's now one of my favorite authors. I gave this book 5 stars. I gave book 2 4.5 stars. But this is the one that kicked it all off. The nods to the Disney movies and the traditional stories were just so impeccably done. Felt like little Easter eggs that were like nods to the reader. Like, hey, you see what I did here? But like done in a fun way. We had... the mafia stuff I thought was really good. This one in particular, Nico was just Nico. Man, he just was into Della and he just, there's a little bit of like chasing primal play in here. It definitely check the triggers. This is dark. It's also got some kink in it. I'm typically not someone who enjoys a lot of kink, but the way it was done in here, it did not bother me at all. I was super here for it. This kicks off this series and I am obsessed with it. I was expecting a decent book because, You know, just I looked at a couple reviews at the star ratings and I was just like, interesting. I didn't really look too heavy into reviews because I didn't know what I was getting myself into. Couldn't put this book down at all. And I am completely obsessed with ML Philpott now, as you probably saw not too long ago. Yeah. I mean, I think this is one of the most recent books that really blew me away. And I hopped on the ML Philpott hype train, and I'm not getting off. I am here for it. I am ready to dig into her backlist. Once I catch up in this series, if you enjoy Mafia fairy tale retelling, if you enjoy Mafia and you enjoy fairy tale retellings, I cannot recommend you to pick up this series more. I love this series. They're in KU. Please check it out. And then we can gush together about how awesome the series is. Number 10, we are almost here. We are almost through. So Yoda is a book that taught you something or that made you grow. I wouldn't say this necessarily, I would say taught or grew, but I definitely have to give this to You with a View by Jessica Joyce. This is a recent release. It came out maybe in June, maybe it was in July. I think it was July. This is debut author Jessica Joyce. This is her first book. This book definitely deals very heavily with grief. I talked about it in a recent vlog. I read this right after I read The Beauty and Scars by ML Philpott, which also we dealt with parental death. This one is grandparent death. And I really connected with this book. And there are things I knew about my own personal grief journey and things that I have dealt with that maybe I didn't exactly know how to articulate in words. And this book helped me kind of articulate those things and also kind of look back, because I lost my mom in 2015. So it has been a while. Wow. It's been almost 8 years. Wow. That's wow. I haven't put a number to it in a while. Wow. But I lost my grandmother when I was in high school. So that was back in 2006 is when she passed, I believe. And I was very close with my paternal grandmother. And that was like my first, like I had lost people in her lives, but that was like the first loss that really kind of was like, this is what grief feels like for me. And so it's been a lot longer since I lost her, and my wave of grief that I feel with my grandmother is definitely on the lower end, than my mom, because my mom was more recent, but it was also my mom, you know? And this book really kind of made me almost nostalgic a little bit. And I was remembering memories that have, you know, been stored in my subconscious mind palace or whatever you want to call it. And it just was so beautifully written. And it definitely brought back some fun memories, some sad memories. And this book really did kind of feel like a hug from my grandmother. And I think it hit at just the right time, because I'm far enough in my grief that it's not going to send me into like a complete tailspin. But as you can tell, I'm tearing up talking about this book again. That's how much that this book has touched me. And I am flabbergasted that this is Jessica's debut. I can't wait to see what she writes next, but this is the most recent book that really kind of, while the specific thing is a book that taught you something or that made you grow, I would say this book definitely made me have some deeper inner reflections while I was reading it, and on top of other things. But I think this was just a very powerful book, especially toward myself and where I am in my grief journey. Because for people to say grief is over, that is not true. Grief is a wave. And there are high days and there are low days, even 8 years, or I guess 18 years after someone has passed in your life that you were very close to. So yeah, I highly recommend this. I highly recommend this book. It is an amazing debut. Okay, our final question. Qui-Gon Jinn, because we gotta throw it back to Qui-Gon Jinn. And that is the worst character death. Obviously spoiler, but I'm gonna go with something that really wrecked me, which was a main character that passed that I could not survive. And I don't have the book because I just recently got a really fun I totally just spaced what this is called. This for books. I keep wanting to say book bag, but that's not what these are called. Book sleeve. There we go. This is, as you could probably tell, 13 inspired. Live, Manon, live. Immortal and infinite and gloriously, wonderfully, deadly. And then we have all of the names. And then we are the 13 from now until the darkness claims us. And already I feel myself tearing up just thinking about this. This was one of the most powerful character deaths I have read. I was sobbing uncontrollably when this happened in the final Throne of Glass book series. Kingdom of Ash. I'm still slightly bitter that the 13, obviously people die because that's what this is. I think about that scene a lot. I have a 13 fan art poster. I guess it's not really a poster, but it's artwork. That is the 13. That has them as like shadows above gray mountains. And then it has Manon and Abraxos. That's the creature that lives in the library in Ekatar. Abraxos. Why are the names so similar? Anyway, Manon's dragon, because I'm like freaking myself out here if I got his name right or not. But with them like in the foreground and they're like looking out the mountains and we've got the shadow of the 13 behind them, the silhouettes. And it sits right over my computer. I look at it every single day. This was just another character death that just, I mean, we had a lot of character deaths in that book and in that series. I mean, don't get me started on Nehemia. I'm still bitter about Nehemia dying in like book 2, but the 13 I feel like was one of the most powerful scenes relating to character death because they really just, I mean, they sacrificed themselves and for Manon, and I just, here I go again, tearing up. As you can tell, I get my emotions when I read, and so then things really affect me emotionally, but that's why I love reading. And, you know, I love to experience these different emotions. And it also, you know, when you're reading, if you struggle with dealing with your emotions, like I have in the past, I feel like sometimes reading can be a good escape or a good way to feel safe in expressing those emotions when you don't feel comfortable to expose your own. But if you can let some of your own emotions out that you've been holding in while you're reading, that are similar or like if you're crying over a character death and you are needing to cry for whatever, and even if it's not grief or the same type of reason behind needing to cry for your own emotions, reading a book that will make you cry or will affect your emotions and allow you to express them and purge them and let them out, whether that's the exact same emotion or not, I think can be a safe space for some people to do that. And so I love reading, and I love that reading can mean so much to a lot of different people for a lot of different reasons, but I wanted to say that because I feel like sometimes I don't articulate my words very well at times because I do get like so in my emotions when I talk about books. But I think if you are someone who struggles with expressing your own emotions, I think reading is a good outlet to help purge some of those things, because it is horrible to hold everything inside. I have been there. I have suffered through things, and I have definitely learned the hard way. And reading is certainly something that can help me break a tendency to bottle things. And yep. It is common, I wouldn't say triggered, but it is common for me if I am not doing so well emotionally after I read a book that affects me very emotionally to after I read it, need a good crying stint. Just to purge my own emotions, purge emotions left over from the book, and just kind of get things out that maybe I was bottling up for a little too long. So I just wasn't expecting, but this book tag has turned into a gushing of reading and how much I love reading and how much it means to my life. And even when my reading slows down a lot, which it has lately, I've only read 3 books this month so far, which is bonkers for me, but I will always have time to read in my life. And while other hobbies might take a priority to reading every once in a while, like right now, I've been really into playing Hogwarts Legacy, and it's been a while since I've been that into a video game. I love reading, and I love books, and I love authors, and I love readers. And I just love how it can mean so much to so many people and be another touchstone of a way for people to connect with each other over reading. Even if you don't read the same things, the same reader habits of buying books, buying more books than you'll ever read, of owning more books than you'll ever read, both digitally and, enjoying library sales and used bookstores. And no matter what genre of books that you read, if you are a reader, you have similar life experiences, hobbies, and things that you enjoy outside of the specific book that you are reading. So I love the book community. I love the little sect of romance community that I've found myself a member of. And I just thank you for watching this and being a part of my community and joining. And I did not expect this book tag to go here, but I am just in my feels right now. And I just want to thank you for watching and supporting my videos. And I didn't do this to, I like talking about books, and I used to do book reviews. I had a book blog. It's been I haven't really done much with it since I've really been focusing on my YouTube channel over the past couple of years. But I have found a lot of enjoyment in talking out my thoughts, because I usually will talk out my thoughts while I'm writing blog posts, but I can just record them now and then not have to worry about, formatting and other things like that. Although we have editing, but I do very minimal editing. So, which is why a lot of my videos probably look like I'm a hot mess, but that's just not my vibe. I just want to do this to share love I have for books and for authors and other hobbies, honestly, in my life. I don't just talk about books in my weekly vlog, and I don't know, I'm feeling very cozy and thankful and grateful in this moment. And so I just wanted to express that to you. So thank you so much for watching. If you'd like to leave me a comment down below, let's go back to our typical outro here. Let's get out of the feels for a moment and be a little more professional. Why don't we? Leave me if you are excited for Ahsoka, or if you have a favorite Star Wars character, maybe a favorite Star Wars place. I know people hate on The Phantom Menace, but I am a big fan of The Phantom Menace because I love the planet of Naboo. It is gorgeous. I love Padme's outfits. I have somewhere, it's probably in my little knickknack thing, I think they came from like McDonald's Happy Meals or something when they came out, but I have her red dress and I have her black dress, and it splits in half, and there's a little Padme, like when she goes out with Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon Jinn, in the like more blue and like gray, just like streetwear, desert streetwear kind of an outfit, but then she pops inside the big dresses. I don't know. I just love Padme. I love Naboo. I think it's gorgeous. I love the aesthetics of their buildings. I love the aesthetic of their like ships. Like I said, the Naboo Starfighter is one of my favorite ships. I love that they brought it back for Mandalorian, and that's the ship he has now. It just makes me happy every time I see it. But let me know what your favorite stuff from Star Wars is, your favorite movie, your favorite show, your favorite character, your favorite aesthetic, whatever you want. If you'd like to just leave me an emoji, go ahead and leave me something robot related, stars related, something sci-fi, something that says sci-fi to you. But otherwise, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you all soon with another video.